Thank you for staying with us here on Newsfile. My guests are seated. I'll introduce them very shortly, but Newsfile is always brought to you by Bank of Africa. As strong as a group, as close as a partner, MTN, welcome to the new world. Star Assurance, creating smiles since 1985, celebrating 30 years of solid partnership. NIIT, bringing people and computers together successfully and having mosquito coil. Well, Star Assurance is 30 years, I'm sure you know that, and through all those years, all they've been up to is to deliver solid insurance that puts endless smiles on the faces of their customers. When you walk in for a motor or travel policy, that what Star Assurance does more is to brighten up your world through all your journeys. And when customers walk in for homeowners, contractors, all risk, fire and allied perils insurance policy, what Star Assurance does more is to make them feel like such dangers don't exist in your world at all. Insure with Star Assurance today and be part of the smiling family. You need to do that in these rainy season and the floods, etc. You want to go to Star Assurance and insure, creating smiles since 1985. Let's go. Let's celebrate 30 years of solid partnership. You can go to www.starassurance.com or visit any of our offices nationwide or call 030-224-0632 and enjoy solid insurance all round. Star Assurance, your solid partner through flood, through fire, they are there for you. Now, are you a public service worker? You need a loan to meet the dire financial need? Here's some good news. Apply for a loan from Bank of Africa and you are sure of getting your loan approved within 48 hours. Enjoy up to 5 years to repay, get a discount on fees, and ultimately start repaying the loan after 3 months. Yes, that's some good news. Visit any Bank of Africa branch nationwide for further inquiries. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. Now, if your internet could speak to you, what do you think it would say? Imagine waiting for 4 hours just to cook instant noodles. What if it had to take you long hours only to download a short video? Well, the wait is over. The time is now. A better internet experience is here. Switch to MTN 4G LTE and enjoy a whopping 100% bonus when you bundle. To get started, simply dial star 585 hash to check if your device is 4G compatible. And then visit any MTN service center near you with a valid ID and make your switch today. Enjoy a better internet experience on Ghana's only 4G network on the go. And say yellow to the future. MTN, welcome to the world. Now, Prosecure Tea is a special formulated health drink that improves the following urinary problems in men, such as frequent urination during the day and night, delayed urination, straining during urination, urgency to urinate, interruption of urine flow, dribbling of urine after urination. Prosecure from Medimosis Prostate Center. Now, location at Dental Barrier, Tamaje Kojo or Henema Kokobe Kubasa. You can call them on 020-814-0668 or 0244-068447. Okay, so we are set to roll. A very interesting day, a lot of issues to go through. Let me quickly introduce Abdul Malik Kwekubaku, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, is here with us. Kofi Abochi, it's been a while since you graced the studios with your presence. How's it been?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Is the Dean, Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration Law School, GIMPA. Felix Kwachufosu, Deputy Minister of Communications. I'm sure you've heard him here many times. A good time to have him on the show. Thank you. Also, Simon Osei-Mensah is MP, Bosomchi constituency and Deputy Speaker, ECOWAS Parliament, also joins us. Thank you also for joining us here on Newsfile. So we'll start with preliminary comments on the flooding situation. It's one of those stories that keeps occurring, but it happened again. The president spoke about it. Also, the Interior Minister spoke about it. The Accra Mayor spoke about it. But we'll start by first watching and listening to what the president said just yesterday at the party's headquarters.
Flooding is a natural occurrence and it is being exacerbated by climate change. Rainfall has become erratic and sometimes falls in significant quantities in a very short period of time. Yesterday in Accra, in parts of Accra, 184.2 millimeters of rain fell within the period that we had the downpour. Much work still needs to be done. We have removed 487,000 tons of silt from the drains in Accra. And I believe that if we had not removed as much silt, the flooding that happened yesterday would have been even worse than it was. But we must continue to work to minimize the incidence of flooding. And I wish to assure you that government has a commitment to do that.
So that is President John Mahama speaking yesterday at the party's headquarters, and I'm sure you're wondering, where is Samson Lada Yenini? Well, he is out and moderating a session of an international conference on reforming criminal justice in Africa, and he'll be back next week. And so Samson is doing pakakpa somewhere on the continent. Well, Oko van der Poel also spoke about this. Let's take a listen.
It is important to note that after June 3rd, 420,000 metric tons of silt have been dredged out of the Korle Lagoon. And let me set the record straight that represents about 45% of the work that needs to be done in the Korle Lagoon and the Odo River. I heard this morning of a figure of 30%, and I must report that it's about 45%. That work is constantly ongoing. We have 3 dredges sitting in the Korle and the Odo River, constantly working 24 hours. Also, please note that massive cleanup exercises have taken place throughout the circle area to Abosokai, Kaneshie, First Light, and every place within Accra that we needed to take care of the cleanup exercises. And that is continuously ongoing because Accra generates about 3,000 tons of refuse a day. Last but not the least, please note that constant ongoing desilting of minor drains throughout the city of Accra and other areas and drains will continue to ensure that June 3rd indeed has come to be a thing of the past.
So that's the Accra Mayor, Oko van der Poel. And again, people are asking for him to resign or be sacked. This is not the first time calls have been made like that. Yesterday, the PNC flag bearer made that call that he should be sacked after the floods happened 2 days ago. I want to start with you, Simon Osei-Mensah. The president said there, what we just watched, that it could have been worse had it not been for the work they've done in desilting. They've removed some 487,000 tons of silt. You agree with him?
Thank you very much. I don't actually agree with him. You know, this has been happening year after year. Almost every year we experience this problem. I attribute the problem of frauding to leadership failure, even though various governments have made some attempts to solve the problem, but it keeps on reoccurring. We knew the major rains in this country start from April, May, and peaks June, July. And most often, this is a period we have serious frauding. And it's not like the frauding has been occurring all over the city. We have specific areas that normally experience serious frauding, which we can make concerted efforts to minimize the level of frauding and the damage that it can cause to society. we may recall, before President Kufuor did the Alajo drains, almost every year we were having serious frauding and causing serious damage to human life and property. After that drainage system, for about 3-4 consecutive years, we never experienced that serious type of frauding around Alajo. We allowed the drains to get silted. We did not desil them. We did not put policies in place to solve this problem or to continue with whatever President Kufuor left off. You know, I agree sometimes with those people who say that human attitude is also a factor. Human behavior is a factor. I agree to some extent. But why do we make laws and policies?
So we should enforce the laws.
Exactly. We make laws and policies to change human behavior to acceptable standards by society. Because if you give us the freedom, we behave the way we like. Even take your own dog. If you train your dog well, and you train the dog saying that this is the only place the dog can eat from. If you put food at any other place, the dog won't eat. That is how human beings are. When you make the policies and you implement the policies to the latter, you realize that you will change behavior. If we fail to put the policies in place, or when you put the policies in place and we fail to implement them effectively, then we are doing nothing. Good. So that is why I say it's leadership failure. Even though I agree, people throwing garbage in the drains, all those things, it's not good, and they are all contributing factor to this menace that we are seeing.
So you're applying the ultimate responsibility rule
to leadership. Because
and when you say leadership, at what level?
The government.
I mean, you know, at what level? I mean,
we have structures
at the metropolitan level.
We have structures. For instance, you have at the metropolitan or municipal or district assembly level, we have the district chief executive with people under the district executive who are responsible for ensuring that we have good sanitation systems. If they fail to do, the district chief executive will have to call the whip. If the person fails, it's the failure on the part of the district chief executive. Then you go up to maybe the ministry level. If any district or municipal or metropolitan assembly fails, we have the minister for local government. The minister must call the whip. If the minister fails, the president must call. So if you are failing, the ultimate responsibility goes to the president.
Okay, because this is just brief preliminary comments on this subject, and the reason why we are doing that is we've talked about this almost every year. It's become a ritual, and people are pretty tired of repeating. I'm sure everything you said here today was said last year. Yeah. Let me bring you quick.
No, just to end. You know, there are some policies when you introduce, they don't work. For instance, this sanitation day, first Saturday of every month.
Yeah, where did that go though?
You know,
but first Saturday of the month will be. What is today? Is it today or last week?
It's just about 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, I didn't see anything honestly. Yeah. Did anybody see?
You know, such a policy works under 3 critical conditions. 1, the general public must see a general interest. 2, nobody is paid to do that job you want the general public to do. 3, we should provide equipment for the people to do the job. When you have these 3 conditions available, then such a policy will be successful. 1, because my time is up, I will just mention one. The other one, are people paid to do the job? Yes. So when there's crisis, people will support such initiative maybe 1 or 2 times. From there they say, but I'm paying taxes. Somebody is collecting the taxes and paying somebody to do this job. Why should I go and do the job? For the person to receive salaries at the end of every month. And it will fail. Such things don't work. Let me give you an example. Like the Friday wear policy. It will work because you don't see anybody who directly benefits or who is paid. Like if I'm paid to sew such type of dress and then people come and buy from me. People say our self-medicine is benefiting. Why should I work for self-medicine to benefit? But because nobody is benefiting directly, when you tell them every Friday we should put on Ghana attire or something, people decided to buy into it because they don't see any direct beneficiary. The benefit is to the whole society, so it will work. But where somebody is paid, my brother, I tell you, it won't be successful.
I want to bring you in here. Fatigued by this, especially because you're also in the media. I felt pretty fatigued by it this week, talking about it again.
I'm sure we have been discussing this matter for the past 20-25 years, and sometimes we only recycle lamentations, criticisms, and all those things. The last 20-25 years, if not more. Even though if you go into history, you realize that even from the 50s to now, sometimes it's word for word, almost the same. And you captured it so interestingly. You said Accra floods. What more has to be said? Is it a hopeless situation? Well, in the wake of June 3rd, which was very tragic, and it was also because there was the fire element anyway, that increased the impact of the casualties. We all said never again, or that was our prayer, never again. I've heard the president, I've heard Accra mayor. In view of the fact I have no evidence to contradict what they are saying in terms of the few things that have been done, I would not challenge the validity of what they are saying. But I would reserve my judgment on the overall performance of the state and state agencies relative to this matter until and unless I see the report of the committee that was set up. The committee was set up. We've only been given tidbits of what is contained in the report. As we speak, I have incited a copy of the report. I haven't read it, so we don't know the full complement of the findings and the recommendations as to the causes, the challenges, even though some of them we will say we know. But what are the recommendations? So floods may come, true, but what is our response capacity? What capacity are we building relative to institutions that must manage disasters? Even as the citizenry, what are we doing to try and reorientate? I thought when we said never again, and we set up that committee, then for once, we're going to be more serious dealing with those issues. Because we go throughout history, we had many committees. Even Parliament had intervened at certain stages with personal statements by members of all those things. So all the issues were put together. But June 3rd was significant because of the scale of the tragedy. And we all, as one people, said never again. I sit here right now. You've invited me to make preliminary comments, small, very little. But I really don't know what next. What is it that we discovered with all the ramifications? And what is it that we have told ourselves we'll do or should be doing? If we had a report, I'll be able to monitor and evaluate whether indeed we are matching our words with the deeds. But it's absent. And that report shouldn't be a classified report. In any case, I'm told the Committee on Government Assurance, I heard it on your news this morning, has decided to intervene by calling either the minister to Parliament or but that's okay. Let the report be put out there and let the public have some idea. Otherwise, yes, I agree, floods will continue to happen, but we should not make that inevitability a case.
Kofi, floods will continue to happen. Is that that's the reality, is it not? I mean, because have you seen enough to contradict that?
Well, it depends on what floods are. If floods are defined to mean the failure on the part of a country to deal with excessive rainfall, then it doesn't have to continue to happen. It may continue to happen because we fail to intervene. I would say rainfall will continue to happen, but floods should not be inevitable. Unfortunately, we've allowed this to happen. In 1995, Accra sank under rainfall. in 2015, Accra had a disaster of rainfall, 20 years apart.
Yeah.
In between that, we had floods perennially. What we have come to expect shouldn't be expected, but in large respect, it represents a failure of governance. And I say governance because government is the leader of government, but the citizens are also part of government. And if there's a failure of citizens to exert pressure, to demand accountability, there's certain interventions be put in place. And that failing the putting in place of these interventions, there will be some repercussions. If citizens have failed over the years and constantly we continue to bear the wrath, or we continue to bear the cost of whatever happens whenever there's flooding, then that failure is something we cannot excuse.
What can citizens really do, though, beyond the attitudinal change? I think you're suggesting a bit more holding the leaders accountable, those who've given our sovereignty to, holding them accountable. What can we do, really?
Well, correct. To a point, I think Honorable suggested the fact that somebody pays taxes. It is somebody's job to ensure that there is that something is done. I tell you what, the Accra Metropolitan Authority is efficient in the collection of its rates. That I can tell you. They're very efficient in collecting rates, business rates, all kinds of tariffs, all kinds of things. You drive on the streets and they're constantly dark. The rains come and the city is flooded. Dirt and dust everywhere. The city clearly appears not to be meeting up to that kind of expectation that we would want to have if we have a metropolitan authority like we do have. So clearly there are certain failures, and the question is whether we can exact accountability in this respect. I think that if the channels of government work, and again, it's important for us to make this point, this has nothing to do with any government. It has everything to do with governments of the Fourth Republic since 1992. The problems have been the same till today. If government works at various levels, ultimately you see efficiency. I think sometimes you see failures at different levels, and that's the thing, no one is holding anyone accountable. And so there's a sense of, nothing can happen. I would expect and I would hope that moving forward, this is something that doesn't have to happen. And I believe in the capacity of our government. I am just thinking that because floods happen seasonally, in between the seasons, we go to bed. And that's where the problem is. And so hopefully, if we can ensure a certain level of accountability so that in between the times when the rains are not here, we ensure that we put in place those interventions that would obviate or completely, as it were, prevent flooding. If we can do that, floods do not have to be inevitable.
Felix, key question Kweku asked, where is the June 3rd committee report?
Well, that report certainly exists, but I think that we need to delineate the issues properly. There is the periodic issue of flooding, and then there is the disaster that occurred last year. If you are looking for a report into the cause of the disaster that occurred last year, we need to separate that from the issue of flooding, because last year it was basically because of the fire outbreak that we had that number of deaths. I'm not sure that that report is classified.
But it's not available to.
Well, I will find out.
Who doesn't know? I don't know.
I will find out exactly what the status of it is.
Will you publish it?
Well, I cannot sit here and give you any assurance. It does not lie in my mouth to do so. But I don't think that there is a certain deference, or if you like, there's a certain deterrent on the part of government to release it. Like I said, I don't think it is classified.
So why it's not out? I mean, that's what people are wondering.
Again, I think we will be misplacing the argument if we focused too much on that.
Oh, no,
I agree. I agree that,
so that it guides us.
I agree that for purposes of public information, there's necessary to put out that kind of information. Yeah. But is that the panacea to the problem that we are discussing? I don't think that it is. First of all, I agree that leadership has a role to play. Government certainly has a role to play to lead the way. But I disagree that merely because we pay taxes to known bodies, we as citizens cannot get involved in the effort to rid our citizens and localities of filth. I think that we should have that capacity to volunteer service in order to overcome national difficulties. There's nothing wrong at all with helping or responding to a call, which is in any event periodic. It is not an everyday activity to help rid our cities of filth. That said, there are some objective realities that we need to avert our minds to. Indeed, the experts have told us that Accra's topology, that is our geographical position, lends itself to flooding. We essentially have set up a city, especially the southern side of it, in the part of water that flows uphill from the Kweku Mountains into a receptacle, which is the sea. Now, once that happens, and we couple that with human activity, we essentially block the part of the water. So there's always going to be some flooding until something very dramatic happens.
Yeah, so
on Thursday, let me come to the point. On Thursday, the experts have told us again that on that particular day, there was high tide. The receptacle that was supposed to receive the water was basically full and was actually flowing inwards. And so there was no way the water was going to flow unless the tide receded. That is how come a few hours after the flooding, it receded. But is there an engineering solution? Yes. Are there things that can be done to mitigate the effect? Yes. Are they being done? Some of it are being done.
That's why I'm looking for the report.
Yes, but I'm saying that, you see, let us not overemphasize that report.
No,
I agree
that
it is important. But that report essentially covered a disaster that was wider in scope than just flooding. I think we need to get
to do a general
thing. It dealt with a problem that we know always happens.
I beg your pardon.
You might have made recommendations.
Yes, that is true.
Have you implemented them? We want to know so that we can do what
I agree with you in principle.
Hold you accountable.
I agree with you in principle that that report is important. But I think that we will not be fair to the facts if we said that we have not known what the causes of the perennial flooding is.
Okay.
Up until the
That's a very important point. Yes, so we know, government knows. So why haven't you fixed it?
But again, something has been done about it. The president spoke about the silting. Essentially, there are channels through which water flows into the receptacle I spoke about, the sea. Those channels over the years have been clogged because of human activity. So there is a periodic effort to desilt it in order to create more space for water to flow. That is a year-round activity. It happens all the time. The mayor spoke to you about work that was ongoing.
That was 45%.
Well, but like I said, it's a periodic activity. You don't do all of it at a time. You do it periodically. There are additional drains that are being constructed. Those who live around Nima have seen a huge drain that is being constructed with Government of Ghana resources. There are either minor drains that are being worked on. Do we need more drains? Yes, and you've heard about the Conti project for quite some time now. That essentially is a huge effort.
Where's the money?
Again, you spoke about money. So there are matters that we need to consider.
No, but you have to answer the question. You are in government. You can't ask the question I'm asking. You need to answer it.
I only highlighted that point in order to tell you.
No, but you need an update. Don't you need an update?
But the money, you see, I agree. I think the finance minister spoke to it last year, that there are some practical impediments that have prevented the coming of the money. But the very fact that government is sourcing the money shows that there's a commitment to get the resources required to do the project that we believe will help address the issue. But we need to consider all the factors before we come to a conclusion whether we are in a hopeless state or not. I don't think that we are in a hopeless state. Should we expect some flooding of some sort? Yes, because of where we are. And indeed, I don't do this comparison because I think that it is the in thing, or that it justifies our own situation. But there are major cities that are better planned than ours. That's the problem. No, I'm not going to mention this, but we all know over the years, again, because of climatic conditions too. Yeah. Some of these cities that are better planned than ours have these difficulties because of where they are sited. So in analyzing the situation, I think we need to be a bit more holistic. Government accepts its role and responsibility. And we believe that to the best of our ability, we are doing what it takes to address the problem. We will get to a stage where we have the resources required to fix it comprehensively. But that we have not reached that stage does not mean that nothing has been done over the period. So yes, the flooding is problematic. It certainly needs to be tackled. We are doing what is within our means at the moment to do it, but we will get to a situation where we will overcome it eventually.
I think just something more to chip in.
Sure.
And
sure.
I'm totally in agreement with what the Honourable Minister has said. That certainly yes, it's not hopeless, as I indicated. We have to move forward with this. But one small thing I have been thinking about is the fact that if careful attention is paid to why 1995 happened, when it happened, and I think Kweku has mentioned that we had some bigger ones probably in the past, but 1995 was significant, even by the expert standards. Yeah. And the reason it might have happened, in my opinion, and again I'm not expert, is the fact that the 90s represents the plasticization of this country.
Yeah.
That was when plastics started coming in a certain quantity, and so suddenly we started losing that advantage of using dissolubles and things that we, for wrapping up things, for carrying things, among others. We started using plastics. It happened at the same time when we may not have averted our minds to the drainage system and how to adapt them to things like this. Clearly, we're in the golden age of plasticization today. Question is, what is the contribution? And that argument has been had over the years. What is the contribution of the plastic industry to the eradication or the avoidance of this perennial flooding situation that we have? Are they going to pay some levy? Are they paying some existing levy? Are there going to be penalties? Are they investing in the collection of the plastics that they produce between the point of production and the point of consumption and the point of, let's say, recycling or reusage of these things? I think that probably could be just a little yeah, something to pay attention to. I'm just thinking.
Following the flood last year, I remember the Environment Minister, Amama Yaga, met the plastic producers. I think they set a certain standard of microns that you cannot produce, and they agitated for a while. I think eventually they accepted. I don't know what the current situation is with that. Whether they are implementing that or
I don't have information on that, but I can find out and apply it. But you see, sometimes too, we need to take into consideration our own attitudes towards some of these measures. You will recall that mayors on end have basically been demonized in this our country, especially those who manage big cities, because of some of the actions they've had to take in order to, safeguard our collective safety as a people. I recall that in the MPP time, Mr. Adri Blankson started some demolition exercise that he believed was going to help address this problem. He came under attack from members of his own party.
And as well as across
absolutely,
the divide.
Absolutely across the divide, of course, because it was politically advantageous to do so. No, these are realities that we need to confront.
You're damn right.
We have had the same problem. Mr. E.T. Mensah was bad-mouthed in this country because of this attitude. So, as a citizen, we need to perhaps lend more support to government and appreciate the need to take some tough, very drastic measures in order to get the problem addressed, without making it seem that there are political consequences to pay for such action. That is one way I believe that we can empower those we put in power to do what has to be done. Because this talk about human face tends to,
clarification, and not because of what my brother said. The demand for, or the call for full disclosure relative to the contents of the report is not for a moment. I'm not for one moment suggesting that's a panacea to our things. I would be surprised if I saw that report and realized that it restricted itself to just June 3rd and what happened. I would be surprised. I would expect that would rather be the basis to trigger a more comprehensive review of the situation and why we get ourselves into those things. So I was looking more at where the recommendations in terms of capacity when it comes to responding to on all those things. And then, of course, the laws, whether the laws are adequate or not, whether we are enforcing or not. So I'm looking forward. So, and when you make that report public, there are times that alternative views could also come on board.
To improve it.
Yes, to improve it. In order, not just the report, but the commitment to deal with the challenge. So that's why I've been demanding or calling for the report. And fortunately, he agrees that it's not a classified document. If it's not, make it public.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you very much. So we want to move on to